Taeyang Kim opened his eyes to smoke and darkness. His head pounded with pain. The emergency lights of the eternal dawn flickered red above him, casting strange shadows across the broken cockpit. He tried to move, but his left leg was trapped under twisted metal. The crash. He remembered it now. The engine exploding, the screaming, the ship falling through the atmosphere like a burning stone. "Hello?" Taeyang called out. His voice was weak. "Anyone there?" Only silence answered him. He pulled himself free, biting down hard against the pain shooting up his leg. Blood soaked through his uniform. The cockpit window was shattered. Through the broken glass, he could see trees. Giant trees with purple leaves that swayed in an alien wind. They had made it to the surface, but at what cost? Taeyang limped through the ship's corridors. Each step was agony. He found them in the passenger bay, all 47 crew members, dead. Some had died on impact. Others had suffocated when life support failed. He stood there for a long time, looking at their faces. His friends, his team. He was alone on an alien world. The next 3 days blurred together. Taeyang salvaged what he could from the wreckage. Medical supplies, food rations, a plasma cutter. He set up distress beacons, though he knew the nearest human colony was months away. His leg was broken, but he wrapped it tight and made a crude splint from ship parts. The planet was beautiful in a terrifying way. The purple forest stretched endlessly in all directions. Strange bird-like creatures flew overhead, singing sounds that hurt his ears. At night, the plants glowed with soft blue light. It would have been peaceful if Taeyang wasn't so completely alone. On the 3rd day, he saw footprints. They were huge, 3-toed, pressed deep into the moss near the ship. Something big had been watching him. Taeyang grabbed the plasma cutter and followed the tracks. Maybe it was stupid. Maybe he should have stayed at the ship. But sitting there waiting to die felt worse than taking action. That was the human way. When faced with the unknown, you walk toward it. The tracks led him deeper into the forest. The trees here were older, their trunks wider than houses. Vines hung down like curtains. Taeyang pushed through them, the plasma cutter held tight in both hands. He heard something move behind him. Taeyang spun around, his breath caught in his throat. She stood 20 feet away, watching him, 7 feet tall, 4 arms, each ending in hands with too many fingers. Her skin was silver and smooth, marked with glowing blue patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. She wore armor made of some dark metal he didn't recognize. Her face was almost human, but not quite. Too angular, too perfect. And her eyes, large and dark like pools of black water. Ancient eyes. In her upper right hand she held a weapon. It looked like a rifle, but curved and organic, as if grown rather than built. The barrel pointed straight at Taeyang's chest. They stared at each other for a moment that felt like hours. "Don't move," she said. Taeyang's blood turned to ice. She had spoken in perfect Korean, not accented, not broken, perfect. You speak my language," he managed to say. "I speak all languages," the alien woman replied. Her voice was strange, musical but cold. "Drop your weapon." Taeyang looked down at the plasma cutter in his hands. It wouldn't do anything against her armor. Slowly, he set it on the ground. "Hands up," she commanded. He raised his hands. His broken leg throbbed. He swayed slightly, trying to stay standing. The alien woman stepped closer. Her weapon never wavered. The glowing patterns on her skin grew brighter. She was studying him the way a scientist studies an insect. "You're human," she said. It wasn't a question. "Yes. From the crashed ship." "Yes." She moved closer still. Now she was only a few feet away. Taeyang could smell her, like ozone and something sweet he couldn't name. Her dark eyes locked onto his face. And then something strange happened. The alien woman's eyes went wide. Her weapon lowered slightly. The glowing patterns on her skin flickered and changed color, going from blue to purple to something like gold. Her other 3 hands came up to her head as if in pain.
"What?" she whispered. "What is this?"
Tae-Yang didn't understand.
"What's wrong?"
She stepped even closer. Her eyes never left his. She was staring at him like he was a ghost.
"Your eyes,"
she said. Her voice had changed, softer now, confused, almost afraid.
"Why do your eyes look so familiar?"
Tae-Yang's heart hammered in his chest.
"I don't know what you mean."
"I've never met a human before," the alien woman continued. She seemed to be talking more to herself than to him.
"Never. And yet when I look at you, I see—"
She trailed off, her weapon lowered completely.
"See what?"
Tae-Yang asked.
"Memories,"
she breathed. "But they're not mine." Before Tae-Yang could respond, the alien woman reached out with her lower left hand. She moved fast, too fast. Her fingers touched his forehead. Pain exploded through Tae-Yang's skull, white-hot and blinding. He saw images flash through his mind. A woman with black hair, children laughing, a house by the ocean. None of it made sense. These weren't his memories. The alien woman gasped and jerked her hand back. She staggered backward, all 4 hands clutching at her head.
"Impossible,"
she muttered.
"This is impossible."
Tae-Yang fell to his knees. His vision swam.
"What did you do to me?"
The alien woman lowered her hands. She looked at him with an expression he couldn't read. Fear, wonder, recognition.
"You're coming with me,"
she said finally. Her voice was firm again, cold, in control.
"Why?"
She didn't answer. Instead, she pulled a device from her belt. It looked like a small cylinder. She pointed it at Tae-Yang and pressed a button. Blue energy wrapped around his wrists, pulling them together. The restraints were warm and hummed with power. Tae-Yang tried to pull free, but the energy held firm.
"Get up,"
the alien woman ordered. Tae-Yang struggled to his feet. His broken legs screamed in protest. He looked at his captor, this strange silver being who spoke his language and claimed to see familiar memories in his eyes. "Who are you?" he asked. The alien woman studied him for a long moment. The glowing patterns on her skin had returned to their steady blue pulse.
"My name is Velra,"
she said.
"And you, human, are either going to give me the answers I need, or you're going to die trying."
She turned and began walking deeper into the forest. The energy restraints on Tae-Yang's wrists tugged him forward, forcing him to follow. He looked back once at the direction of his ship, his dead crew, his last connection to humanity. Then he turned and limped after the alien woman into the unknown. Whatever was happening, whatever strange connection existed between them, Tae-Yang knew one thing for certain. His life would never be the same. Velra's ship was hidden in a canyon 3 miles from the crash site. Tae-Yang had expected something huge and impressive, but the vessel was small and sleek. It looked like a silver teardrop pressed into the red rock. The metal rippled when Velra approached, opening like a mouth. Inside was cramped. The walls glowed with the same blue light as Velra's skin markings. Strange symbols scrolled across smooth surfaces. There were no chairs, no controls that Tae-Yang could recognize. Everything looked alive somehow. Velra pushed him into a small chamber at the back. The energy restraints vanished from his wrists, and new ones appeared, locking him to the wall. She stood in the doorway, all 4 arms crossed, watching him. "You will answer my questions," she said. Tae-Yang's leg throbbed. He could feel blood still seeping through his makeshift bandage. "I need medical attention." Velra tilted her head. It was a bird-like motion, studying, calculating. Then she reached out with one hand and touched his injured leg. The pain disappeared instantly. Tae-Yang gasped. Warmth spread through his leg, then his whole body. The exhaustion he'd carried for 3 days lifted. He looked down. Through the torn fabric of his uniform, he could see his skin knitting back together, the broken bone setting itself right. "What did you do?" he breathed. "Fixed you," Velra said simply. She pulled her hand back. "Can't have you dying before I get answers." "Answers to what?" "Who you are, what you are." She paused. "Why you make me see things that never happened to me?" Taeyang tested his leg. It was completely healed. Whatever technology Velra had used worked like magic. No, better than magic. Science so advanced it might as well be magic. "I'm just a pilot," he said. "My name is Taeyang Kim. I was bringing colonists to Kepler 186. We never made it." "Just a pilot," Velra repeated. The glowing marks on her skin pulsed faster. "No." "You're more than that." She stepped closer. Her dark eyes locked onto his again. This time Taeyang was ready for it, but the sensation still hit him like a wave. Those eyes, so deep, so old. He felt like he was falling into them. "My people are called the Velkans," she said. "We are memory hunters. We can see into the genetic past of other beings. Every creature carries the memories of their ancestors in their blood. When I look into someone's eyes, I can read those memories, see what their parents saw, their grandparents, back through generations." "That's impossible," Taeyang said. "Is it?" Velra leaned closer. "Then explain why. When I look at you, I see a woman named Yuna standing on a beach. I see children that aren't mine. I see a life I never lived." Taeyang's mouth went dry. "I don't know anyone named Yuna. Neither do I. But she's there in your genetic memory, and somehow she's also in mine." Before Taeyang could respond, the ship lurched. They were moving. The walls around them shimmered and became transparent. Taeyang could see the purple forest falling away below them as they rose into the sky. "Where are you taking me?" he asked. "To the outpost. My commander will want to examine you." "Examine?" Velra's expression didn't change. "Humans are rare this far from your colonies. We've been watching your species spread across the stars. You grow fast. Too fast. You adapt to environments that should kill you. You survive things that would wipe out any other race." She paused. "My people consider you a threat." The ship banked hard to the left. Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks covered in glowing purple clouds. Velra moved to the front of the ship, her four hands touching different glowing symbols. The vessel responded to her touch, speeding up. "A threat?" Taeyang asked. "We're just trying to survive, to find new homes." "That's what makes you dangerous," Velra said without looking back. "You never stop. You never give up. Most species reach a point where they're satisfied. They settle into their territory and stay there. But humans? You always want more. More planets, more resources, more space. You make us sound like monsters." "No." Velra finally turned to look at him. "Monsters are simple. They destroy because it's their nature. Humans are complicated. You destroy, you create, you love, you hate. You're capable of great beauty and terrible violence, often at the same time. That's what scares us." The ship descended toward a mountain. The rock face shimmered and vanished, revealing a massive opening. They flew into a cavern that seemed to go on forever. Lights glowed along the walls. Other ships were docked on platforms. Taeyang saw other Velkans moving around, dozens of them, all tall, all with 4 arms and glowing skin. They landed on an empty platform. Velra released Taeyang from the wall restraints but immediately bound his wrists again with the blue energy. "Walk," she commanded. They moved through corridors carved from stone but lined with metal. Everything hummed with power. Velkans stopped to stare as they passed. Their dark eyes followed Taeyang. He heard them whispering in their musical language. Velra led him to a large chamber. The walls here were covered in screens showing star maps and scrolling data. At the center stood another Velkan, larger than Velra. His skin markings were red instead of blue. His forearms were covered in what looked like battle scars. "Commander Ralvik," Velra said, bowing slightly. The commander looked at Tai Yang the way someone might look at an interesting insect. "A human, fresh, undamaged." His voice was deeper than Velra's, rougher. "Good work, Scout Velra." "Sir, there's something unusual about this one." "Oh?" Ralvik circled around Taeyang slowly. "They're all unusual. Fragile bodies, but they refuse to break. Weak senses, but they build tools to compensate. Short lives, but they breed like vermin." He stopped in front of Taeyang. "What makes this one special?" Velra hesitated. Taeyang saw uncertainty in her eyes. "When I read his genetic memory, I saw things that shouldn't be there." "Explain." "Memories that feel like mine, like Velkan memories, but they're in his bloodline." Ralvik's red markings flared bright. "Impossible. We share no genetic history with humans." "That's what I thought too, but I need to investigate further. I need time with him." The commander studied her for a long moment. Then he looked at Taeyang. "Very well. You have 3 days. Learn what you can. Then we dissect him." "Dissect?" Taeyang's blood ran cold. Ralvik smiled. It was not a friendly expression. "Human resilience is legendary. We want to understand it. The only way to do that is to take you apart and see how you work." "You can't do this," Taeyang said. "I'm a person. I have rights." "You have no rights here, human. You're a specimen, a puzzle. And when Velra is done with you, you become a lesson." Ralvik turned away. "Take him to detention level. Keep him alive. For now." Velra grabbed Taeyang's arm and pulled him out of the chamber. They walked in silence through more corridors, going deeper into the mountain. The air grew colder, the lights dimmer. Finally, Velra stopped at a heavy door. It slid open, revealing a small cell. Inside, Taeyang could see another figure, human, a woman with short black hair and tired eyes. The woman looked up as they entered. When she saw Taeyang, hope flashed across her face. "Another human?" she whispered. Velra pushed Taeyang into the cell. The energy restraints vanished. Before he could speak, Velra leaned close. 3 days, she said quietly. "That's all I could buy you. Use them wisely." "Why are you helping me?" Velra's eyes met his again. That same strange recognition, that same confusion. "Because when I look at you," she said, "I see someone I should know, someone I should remember, and I need to understand why." The door slid shut. Taeyang was alone with the other human prisoner. She stood up slowly. "I'm Hana," she said. "Dr. Hana Cho. I've been here for 6 months." She looked at the closed door. "And I think I know why Velra is so interested in you." "Why?" Hana's expression was grave. "Because humans and Velkans aren't as different as everyone thinks. And that secret might be the most dangerous thing in the galaxy." Dr. Hana Cho sat cross-legged on the metal floor of the cell. In the dim light, Taeyang could see the dark circles under her eyes. 6 months in this place had worn her down, but her eyes were sharp, alert, the eyes of someone who had learned things, dangerous things. "What do you mean we're not different?" Taeyang asked. Hana glanced at the cell door. "Keep your voice down. They listen sometimes." She motioned for him to sit beside her. 6 months ago, I was part of a research team studying ancient ruins on Kepler 90. We found something. DNA samples preserved in stasis chambers, millions of years old. From what species? That's the thing. We couldn't tell at first. The DNA was like nothing we'd ever seen. Not human, not any known alien race. So we ran deeper tests. Hana's hands trembled slightly. We found matches. Pieces of this ancient DNA exist in human genetics. Small fragments, but they're there. Taeyang's mind raced. "You're saying humans have alien DNA?" Not alien. Precursor. Something older than any current species. And here's what terrifies me. She leaned closer. When the Velkans captured me, they ran their own tests. They have the same DNA fragments, the same ancient markers. That's impossible. That's what I thought. But it's true. Somewhere in the distant past, humans and Velkans shared a common ancestor, or we were both engineered by the same ancient race. Hana's voice dropped to barely a whisper. The Velkans know. That's why they're so interested in us. That's why they're afraid. Before Taeyang could respond, the cell door opened. Velra stood there alone. The glowing marks on her skin pulsed in an irregular pattern. She looked agitated. "You," she said to Taeyang, "come with me." "Where?" Hana asked. "That's not your concern." Velra's forearms moved with nervous energy. "Now, human." Taeyang stood slowly. He looked back at Hana. She nodded slightly. "Be careful," her eyes said. Velra led him through corridors he hadn't seen before. These were quieter, empty. The walls here showed no glowing symbols, just smooth, dark stone. They were going somewhere private. Finally, she stopped at a small chamber. Inside was nothing but a flat platform and strange equipment on the walls. Lights that pulsed in rhythm with Velra's skin markings. "What is this place?" Taeyang asked. "A memory chamber, where memory hunters go to sort through what they've collected." Velra turned to face him. "I need to try again. To read your memories properly. Something went wrong the first time." "Or something went right," Taeyang said, thinking of what Hana had told him. Velra's expression shifted. For a moment she looked almost vulnerable. "You don't understand. I've been a memory hunter for 30 cycles. I've read the genetic memories of hundreds of beings across dozens of species. Never, not once, has anyone's memory merged with mine. But yours did." "What did you see?" "A woman. Yuna. She was standing on a beach watching the sun set over water. She was happy. No, more than happy. She was complete." Velra's voice grew softer. "And she was Velkan." Taeyang's breath caught. "What?" She looked different. Her skin markings were green instead of blue. She only had 2 arms instead of 4. But I know Velkan features when I see them. She was one of us. Velra moved closer. "But the memory was human, from your bloodline. How can a Velkan be part of human genetic memory?" "Maybe Hana was right. Maybe we're connected somehow." "No. This is more than shared DNA from millions of years ago." Velra reached out with one hand. "I need to look deeper. But I'm warning you. It will hurt." Taeyang thought about refusing, but he needed answers too. He needed to understand why this alien woman looked at him with such recognition, such confusion. "Do it," he said. Velra placed all 4 of her hands on his head. The touch was warm, electric. The lights in the chamber grew brighter, pulsing faster and faster. Pain exploded through Taeyang's skull, but this time he didn't resist. He let himself fall into it. Images flooded his mind. A house by the ocean. The woman, Yuna, younger now. She was running from something, afraid. Her skin was silver. She had 4 arms. Fully Velkan. Then the image shifted. Yuna stood in a city, not an alien city, a human city, Seoul. Taeyang recognized the old buildings from history books. This was Earth, hundreds of years ago. Yuna was hiding, pretending to be human. She wore long sleeves to hide her extra arms, makeup to dull her silver skin. She moved through crowds of humans, alone and afraid. Then a new memory. Yuna met someone, a human man. Kind eyes, gentle hands. He didn't run when she showed him what she really was. He didn't scream. He held her silver hands in his human ones and said, "I don't care what you are. I care who you are. Love." Taeyang felt it flowing through the memory like a river. Yuna had fallen in love with a human. The images kept coming. Yuna making a choice, using technology to change herself, removing her extra arms, altering her skin, becoming human, not pretending anymore, actually transforming herself at the genetic level. Marriage, children, a life lived in peace. Yuna growing old with her human husband. And in her final moments, lying in bed with white hair and wrinkled skin that had once been silver, she whispered, "I made the right choice." Taeyang gasped as the connection broke. He fell to his knees. Velra staggered backward, all four arms clutching at her chest. Tears ran down her silver face. "She was my ancestor," Velra whispered. "Yuna, she was sent to Earth as a spy, to study humans before the Velkan Empire could decide if you were a threat. But she fell in love. She betrayed her mission. She became one of you." "And I'm her descendant," Taeyang said. "That's why you saw the memories. They're yours and mine at the same time." Velra looked at him with wide eyes. "This is forbidden. If the Empire knew one of our own had merged their bloodline with humans, if they knew the connection ran this deep," she shook her head, "they would erase the knowledge, kill everyone involved." "Then why did you show me?" "Because I had to know the truth." Velra's voice was fierce now, strong. "Because when I look at you, I don't see a threat. I see family." Footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Velra straightened quickly, wiping her face. The door opened. Commander Ralvik stood there with two other Velkan guards. "Velra," he said coldly, "I've been watching the memory chamber readings. What exactly are you doing with the human?" "Research, Commander, as ordered." "Research?" Ralvik stepped into the room. "Or something else? I saw the energy spikes, the deep memory merge. You went far beyond standard interrogation." Velra said nothing. Ralvik moved close to her. "You're developing sympathy for the human. I can see it in your markings. The color shifts." His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "That's treason, Scout Velra. I'm trying to understand them. That's my job. Your job is to gather information, not to bond with the specimens." Ralvik turned to the guards. "Take her to holding. She's compromised." "Sir, You showed weakness. In our culture, that's unforgivable." Ralvik looked at Taeyang. "And you. Your time just ran out. We dissect you tomorrow morning." The guards grabbed Velra. She didn't resist, but as they pulled her toward the door, she looked back at Taeyang. Their eyes met one last time. In that moment, Taeyang saw something that gave him hope. Velra wasn't defeated. She was planning, just like Yuna had planned all those years ago when she chose love over duty. The door slammed shut. Taeyang was alone in the memory chamber. But he wasn't afraid anymore, because he understood now what made humans dangerous. It wasn't their physical strength or their technology. It was their ability to change others, to make even their enemies question everything they believed. Yuna had done it centuries ago, and now Velra was doing it again. The connection between their species was stronger than any weapon, and that terrified the Velkan Empire more than anything else. The guards threw Taeyang back into the detention cell. He hit the floor hard. Hana helped him up, her eyes full of questions he couldn't answer yet. "What happened?" she whispered. "Velra found something about why we're connected to them." Taeyang rubbed his head where it still ached from the memory merge. "And they arrested her for it. The commander knows she's sympathetic to us?" "Yes. And they're going to dissect me in the morning." Hana went pale. "We have to get out of here." "How?" "We're locked in a cell inside a mountain surrounded by warriors with 4 arms and weapons we don't understand." "I've been studying them for 6 months. I know their patterns, their weaknesses." Hana moved to the cell door, running her fingers along the edge. "The Velkans are strong, but they're arrogant. They don't think humans are smart enough to be a real threat. "That's their first mistake," said a new voice. Both Tai Yang and Hana spun around. A section of the wall had opened. A man stood there, human, muscular. His eyes were hard and calculating, military. "Who are you?" Taeyang asked. "Jinwoo Lee, Marine Corps. Been here 8 months. He stepped into the cell. Behind him, the wall sealed shut again. "Found that passage 3 weeks ago. Leads to the old mining tunnels. The Velkhans don't use them anymore." "Why didn't you escape?" Hana asked. "Because I wasn't alone. There are 14 other humans in cells on this level. I won't leave without them." Jinwoo looked at Taeyang. "But you changed things. I heard the guards talking. They're moving up the dissection schedule because you're special somehow. That means they're distracted. Off balance." "So we move tonight," Taeyang said. "We move now." Jinwoo pulled something from his pocket, a small piece of Velkhan technology glowing faintly. "Took this from a guard who got careless. It's a security override, one use only. We get one shot at this." Hana looked between them. "Even if we get everyone out, where do we go? The planet's hostile. We have no ships." "One problem at a time," Jinwoo said. He pressed the device against the cell door. It hummed. The door slid open. "First, we free everyone. Then we improvise. That's the human way." They moved fast through the corridors. Jinwoo knew every camera blind spot, every patrol rotation. He'd been watching, planning. Taeyang realized this man hadn't been a prisoner. He'd been gathering intelligence. They reached the other cells. 12 more humans, scientists, engineers, a teenage girl who'd been taken from her colony ship, all of them thin, exhausted, but the moment they saw the open doors, their eyes blazed with hope. "Listen up," Jinwoo said quietly. "We're going into the tunnels. Stay quiet. Stay together. Do exactly what I say." "What about Velra?" Taeyang asked. "She's in holding. They arrested her because she helped me." "She's the enemy," Jinwoo said. "No, she's the reason we have a chance." Taeyang stepped forward. "She knows something about our connection to the Velkhans, something important enough to risk her life for. We can't leave her." Jinwoo studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Fine, but we do this fast." Holding was 2 levels up. They used the maintenance shafts, crawling through tight spaces. The teenage girl, whose name was Mina, found air ducts that led them past guard stations. When they reached holding, Jinwoo disabled the door lock with a move so smooth it looked practiced. Inside, Velra sat alone. Her 4 arms were bound with energy restraints that glowed red instead of blue. Punishment restraints. They were burning her skin. She looked up when they entered. Surprise flashed across her face. "You came back." "Couldn't let you take all the credit for being a traitor," Taeyang said. He looked at the restraints. "How do we get those off?" "You don't. Only a commander-level override can remove them." "Then we take you with them on." Taeyang grabbed her arm. She was lighter than he expected for someone so tall. Alarms blared suddenly. Red lights flooded the corridors. "They know," Hana said. "Move," Jinwoo barked. "Everyone to the tunnels, now!" They ran. The freed humans moved together like water, fast and fluid. Even weakened from months of captivity, they pushed their bodies hard. That human stubbornness. That refusal to give up. Velkhan guards poured into the corridors. Plasma fire lit up the walls. Jinwoo grabbed a fallen weapon and returned fire, his shots precise and controlled. 2 guards went down. "How did you learn to use their weapons?" Velra gasped as they ran. "Watch the guards practice for 8 months. Humans are good at learning." They reached the tunnels. The group plunged into darkness. Mina pulled out a small light she'd made from salvaged tech. The tunnel walls were rough stone, dripping with water. The air smelled like minerals and ancient rock. Behind them, they heard voices. Commander Ralvik shouting orders. More guards coming. They'll follow us, Hana panted. Let them, Jinwoo said. He stopped at a junction in the tunnel. Mina, take everyone down the left path. Follow it for 2 miles. There's an opening to the surface. What about you? Mina asked. I'm setting a trap. Go, now. The group hesitated, but Jinwoo's eyes were steel. They went. Only Taeyang, Velra, and Hana stayed. You don't have to do this, Taeyang said. Yes, I do. Jinwoo was already placing pieces of salvaged equipment at key points in the tunnel. I'm a soldier. This is what I do. Buy time for civilians to escape. We're not leaving you, Hana insisted. Jinwoo smiled. It was sad and proud at the same time. You know what makes humans special? We know when to sacrifice, when one life can save many. He finished his setup. These tunnels are unstable. I collapsed them. The guards can't follow. You get away. Velra spoke up. There's another way. These are my people. Let me talk to them. They'll kill you, Jinwoo said. Maybe. But maybe I can slow them down without anyone dying. She looked at Taeyang. Your ancestor Yuna chose peace. Let me try. Taeyang's mind raced. Then he heard it. Footsteps. Lots of them. The guards were close. Everyone hide, Velra said. Please, trust me. They pressed into shadows as Velra walked to the center of the tunnel. The red restraints still burned her skin, but she stood straight, proud. Commander Ralvik appeared first, 10 guards behind him. He stopped when he saw Velra alone. Where are the humans? He demanded. Gone. You'll never catch them. Traitor. You helped them escape. Yes. Velra's voice was clear, strong. Because I learned the truth. The same truth the Empire has been hiding for generations. What truth? Ralvik moved closer. That we're connected to humans, not just genetically, culturally, emotionally. Velra's silver skin seemed to glow brighter. One of our own, Yuna, fell in love with a human centuries ago. She became one of them, and her descendants are alive today. The guards murmured, shocked. Lies, Ralvik spat. I saw the genetic memories. The proof is in that human's bloodline. Velra pointed in the wrong direction, away from where Taeyang hid. And if one Velkan could choose humans over the Empire, others might too. That's what you really fear, isn't it, Commander? Not human weapons or human expansion. You fear we might like them. Ralvik's red markings blazed. Enough! He raised his weapon. Taeyang moved without thinking. He burst from the shadows, tackling Velra to the ground just as plasma fire scorched the air where she'd been standing. Jinwoo detonated his charges. The tunnel collapsed in a roar of falling rock. Dust filled the air. Taeyang covered Velra with his body as stones rained down around them. When the rumbling stopped, they were in darkness, completely buried. No, not completely. A small gap above them let in a trickle of light and air. Everyone okay? Jinwoo's voice came from nearby. Yeah, Hana coughed. Bruised but alive. Taeyang looked down. Velra was staring up at him. She'd been ready to die to save them. And he'd saved her instead. Why? She whispered. Because Yuna chose love, Taeyang said. So can we. They climbed through the gap, following the thin light. It led them to a cave opening. Beyond it, purple forest stretched to the horizon. They were free. The other humans were waiting, 13 faces turned toward them with relief. Now what? Mina asked. Taeyang looked at Velra. She looked back. 2 species, one shared past, and a future they would have to build together. Now we find the truth, he said. The real truth about why humans and Velkans were made, and we stop anyone who wants to keep us apart. The cave system went deeper than any of them expected. Jinwoo led the group through winding passages, always moving away from the outpost. The purple forest above gave way to stranger terrain. The plants here glowed brighter. Some of them moved when humans passed, as if curious. Velra's restraints were finally failing. The red energy flickered and died after hours of burning. Her silver skin underneath was scarred. Hana tried to help, but Velra waved her away with one of her 4 hands. "I'll heal," she said simply. Velkans recover quickly. "Not as quickly as humans," Hana replied. "Our healing factor is actually superior in most ways." Velra looked at her with those dark eyes. "Is that why the Empire fears you? Because you refuse to stay broken?" "Maybe. Or maybe they fear what we represent." Hana sat down on a rock. The group had stopped to rest. "Think about it. Humans don't have 4 arms. We don't have superior strength. We can't read genetic memories. But we survive anyway. We adapt. We overcome." "Through stubbornness," Velra said. "Through hope," Taeyang corrected. He was examining the cave walls. Strange symbols were carved into the stone, not Velkan, not human, something older. "Hana, look at this." The scientist moved closer, pulling out a small scanner she'd kept hidden during her captivity. She ran it over the symbols. Her eyes went wide. "This is precursor writing, the same language we found on Kepler 90. She traced the symbols with her fingers. "It says, 'The children of our design sleep below. Wake them when unity is achieved.'" "Children of their design," Velra repeated. "You mean us, humans and Velkans. Not just us, all the species they created." Hana's scanner beeped. "There's something down there, deep underground. A structure, massive." Jinwoo checked his stolen Velkan weapon. "Could be a trap. Or it could be answers," Taeyang said. "We need to know the truth." They descended. The tunnels became more deliberate, carved with purpose. The walls smoothed out and began to glow with soft white light. The air grew warmer. After an hour of walking, they emerged into a chamber so vast they couldn't see the far walls. In the center stood a structure that looked like a tower made of crystal and metal. It pulsed with the same white light as the walls. "What is this place?" Mina whispered. Her voice echoed. Velra stepped forward. Her skin markings reacted to the tower, pulsing in sync with its light. "I've heard stories, old legends, about the first makers, the beings who came before all current species. We thought they were myths." "They were real," Hana said. She approached the tower carefully. "And they left this for us to find." The tower activated when she touched it. Light exploded outward, forming holographic images in the air. Figures appeared. Tall beings with features that looked both human and Velkan, and like nothing either species had ever seen. A voice filled the chamber. It spoke in all languages at once. Taeyang heard Korean. Velra heard Velkan. Everyone heard their native tongue. "We are the architects," the voice said. "We seeded life across the galaxy, not randomly, not by chance, with purpose." The hologram shifted. It showed planets forming, life beginning, species growing. "We created different children for different purposes. Some we made strong, some we made wise, some we made adaptable. We scattered these gifts across the stars and waited." "Waited for what?" Taeyang asked. The hologram focused on him, as if it could hear, as if it could see. "For unity. For the moment when our children would stop seeing themselves as separate and start seeing themselves as one family." New images appeared. A darkness spreading through space, consuming stars, erasing entire systems. A great threat approaches, the silence. It destroys all life, all matter, all energy. We, the architects, could not stop it. We could only delay it. The hologram showed the architects sacrificing themselves, using their bodies to create barriers in space. "Our barriers will fail in 1 generation. When the silence comes again, only a united galaxy can survive." "That's why they made us different," Hana breathed. different strengths to complement each other. Humans were given adaptability and hope, the voice continued. The ability to survive impossible odds and inspire others. Velkhans were given strength and memory, the ability to remember lessons and protect what matters. Together, you are complete. Apart, you will fall. The hologram showed more species, dozens of them, all scattered across the galaxy, all designed with specific gifts. Find them, unite them, or die divided. The images faded. The tower's light dimmed. They stood in silence. Velra spoke first. The Empire needs to hear this. They'll never believe us, Jinwu said. We're fugitives, traitors. Then we make them believe. Taiyang turned to the group. We have proof now. Real evidence that humans and Velkhans are meant to work together, that all species are. And if they still refuse to listen? Mina asked. Then we find others who will. A sound echoed through the chamber. Footsteps, many of them. The group turned, weapons raised. But it wasn't Velkhan guards who emerged from the tunnels. It was human soldiers, dozens of them in full combat armor. And leading them was an older man with sharp eyes and medals on his chest. Admiral Suho Kang, Hana gasped. Earth Defense Fleet. The admiral looked at the ragged group of survivors. His eyes lingered on Velra. We received your distress signal from the crash site. Took us 3 weeks to trace it here. He gestured around. Interesting place you found. Sir, Taiyang stepped forward. We've discovered something. About human origins. About why we need to stop fighting. I know, Suho said calmly. We've been monitoring this facility for years. The architects left these towers on dozens of planets. This is the first time one activated. He looked at Velra. And you must be the Velkhan who made it possible. More sounds. From another tunnel entrance. Velkhan warriors poured in, weapons ready. But they stopped when they saw the humans already there. A new Velkhan stepped forward. She was enormous, 9 feet tall with skin markings that shifted between every color. 4 sets of arms, each wearing elaborate jewelry. High Matriarch Velthara, Velra whispered, dropping to one knee. The matriarch looked around the chamber, looked at the tower, looked at the humans and Velkhans standing together. I received word of Commander Ralvik's betrayal, his attempt to hide valuable research by killing human specimens. Her voice was ancient, powerful. I came to see the truth for myself. Then you saw the message, Suho said. It wasn't a question. I saw. The two leaders faced each other, human and Velkhan. Between them, the weight of centuries of fear and misunderstanding. My people won't accept this easily, Velthara said. Neither will mine, Suho replied. But they don't have a choice. The silence is real. Our scientists have detected it already. Dark zones where stars are vanishing. As have ours. Taiyang stepped between them. A simple pilot, beaten and exhausted, but alive, still fighting. My ancestor Yuna was a Velkhan who became human, he said. She made a choice that changed everything, not because she had to, because she wanted to. He looked at Velra. And now I'm making the same choice. I choose to see Velkhans not as enemies but as family, because that's what we are. Velra stood. The scars on her arms from the punishment restraints were still visible. She walked to Taiyang's side. My ancestor Yuna chose humanity over duty, she said. She saw strength in connection, in love. I thought the Empire had forgotten those lessons. She turned to the matriarch. But we can't afford to forget anymore. Not with the silence coming. The matriarch was quiet for a long time. Then she did something none of the Velkhan guards expected. She laughed. It was a sound like music, like relief, like hope. The young always think they invented courage, she said. But I am old. I remember stories of Yuna, the lost one. We called her a traitor, a fool. The matriarch's expression softened. But she was neither. She was simply the first to choose wisely. She extended one of her 4 hands to Admiral Suho. An alliance, then. Human and Velkan. The first since the architects left us. Suho took her hand. The first of many. If that tower is right, there are more species out there who need to join us. Then we find them, together. The chamber filled with cheering. Human and Velkan voices mixing, the sound of something new being born. Taeyang felt Velra's hand slip into his. 2 hands, 1 human, 1 Velkan. Different, but the same. Do you think Yuna would approve? She asked quietly. Taeyang looked around, at Hana already excitedly explaining her theories to Velkan scientists, at Jinwoo teaching guards human combat techniques, at Mina laughing with a young Velkan warrior, at 2 species learning to see each other as people. I think, he said, she's been guiding us all along. The tower pulsed one more time. A final message, not in words but in feeling, pride, hope, the knowledge that the architect's children had finally taken the first step toward unity. Outside, human ships and Velkan vessels landed side by side, diplomats and warriors, scientists and soldiers, all coming together. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be resistance, fear. Old hatreds hard to overcome, but they would face it together, because that's what the architects had designed them to do. Not to conquer the galaxy alone, but to save it together. The silence was coming. Let it come. Humanity would be ready, and they wouldn't be alone. Commander Ralvik was found trying to destroy the tower's data. He was arrested by his own people. The evidence was too clear, the choice too obvious. As the sun set on that alien world with its purple forests and glowing caves, Taeyang stood with Velra watching the first joint human-Velkan research team enter the tower. What happens now? She asked. Now we prove that being different doesn't mean being divided, Taeyang said. We prove that the strongest weapon isn't fists or guns, it's understanding. Very human philosophy. Maybe. But Yuna believed it too. And she was Velkan. Velra smiled. It was the first real smile he'd seen on her face. Then perhaps, she said, the best parts of both our peoples are the same parts after all. In the sky above, stars twinkled, and somewhere in that vast darkness, the silence moved closer. But for the first time in galactic history, the children of the architects stood ready to face it. Together.